Hello and welcome to the MMA Live Chat Show. I'm Rich Davie and it's Saturday, January 31st, 2015. This is the first show of Season 3 of the MMA Live Chat Show, and you might have noticed that I've been out for a while, and that's because I had that nasty flu that was going around that just wouldn't seem to quit, so I haven't done a show for a couple of months now. But I am back and starting Season 3 of the shows. On today's show, I'll be discussing the UFC 183 Silva versus Diaz event, and I'll be giving my predictions for the main card. The UFC 183 Silva versus Diaz event takes place Saturday, January 31st, 2015 at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, and will air on pay-per-view on Fox Sports 1 starting at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. This is going to be an exciting night of fights with what looks to be a great card from top to bottom. Anderson Silva returns to the Octagon after that gruesome broken leg that happened in the rematch against Chris Weidman that kept him sidelined for more than a year. And the main event also features the return of Nick Diaz, who decided to go into semi-retirement after losing his matchup against George St. Pierre by decision almost 2 years ago now. And we'll also get to see Kelvin Gastelum take a step up in competition as he faces Tyron Woodley in the co-main event. And then we will be able to see the main event on Fox Sports 1, and that's going to be the Miesha Tate versus Sara Mcmann event. Up first, let's go ahead and talk about Anderson Silva versus Nick Diaz, the #1 UFC ranked middleweight versus the unranked middleweight. And coming into this one here, Anderson Silva is 33-6, and Nick Diaz is 26-9-1 no contest. Okay, odds makers heavily favor Anderson Silva, as do MMA fans. Both fighters are returning to the Octagon after long layoffs. Silva hasn't fought since his rematch loss to Chris Weidman back on December 28, 2013, and Diaz hasn't been in the Octagon since he lost to George St. Pierre back on March 16, 2013, and again he decided to go into semi-retirement. In addition to that, both fighters are coming to this fight with 2 consecutive losses. Anderson Silva is the larger man with about a 2-inch reach advantage in height, and depending upon what MMA site you get that stat from, it could be, 1.5 inches or 2 inches, whatever, there, because there's a little discrepancy as to the height of Nick Diaz. Anderson Silva also has a 1.5-inch reach advantage. Anderson's power is deceptively strong. He hits much harder than Nick Diaz, in my opinion, and he has KO'd or TKO'd more than several opponents with just a jab. Anderson Silva hasn't won a fight in a little over 2 years when he defeated Stephan Bonner by TKO in round 1 back on October 13th, 2012. And then looking at Nick Diaz's last win, Diaz defeated BJ Penn by unanimous decision a little over 3 years ago. But the BJ Penn that Diaz faced was pretty much on the downside of his MMA career. The only solid advantages that I see for Nick Diaz in this matchup is that he's 8 years younger than Anderson Silva, and he has a slight edge in his ground game, but he seems to have abandoned his ground game and favors boxing now. Diaz last won by submission 4 years ago when he fought Cyborg as the main event back when he was fighting in the Strikeforce organization, and Diaz has also stated in the past that he isn't going to attack the leg injury that Anderson Silva suffered, and he's going to make this a stand-up event, which in my opinion is a big mistake. Attacking Silva's leg is exactly what Nick Diaz needs to do, and then taking the fight to the ground is going to be to his advantage, in my opinion. If Nick Diaz tries to fight Anderson Silva in a stand-up fight without attacking Silva's leg, he's extremely likely to lose this fight. Diaz has said on more than one occasion that he wants an opponent that will stand and fight without running or hugging him, but Anderson Silva is much better than Nick Diaz on the feet. So I'm going to be going with Anderson Silva by TKO in 2. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. Tyron Woodley versus Kelvin Gastelum, the #3 UFC ranked welterweight versus the #7 UFC ranked welterweight. And Tyron Woodley is 14-3 coming into this one, and Kelvin Gastelum is 10-0. This should be an interesting fight. Kelvin Gastelum, as I said earlier, is taking a big step up in competition here, but he missed weight by a whopping 9 pounds or so. So maybe he's willing to give up that percentage of his purse, thinking that he'll have an advantage by not cutting the additional 9 or 10 pounds to make weight. Yeah, not a whole lot to say on this one. Tyron Woodley seemed to be pretty upset. I did see a tweet out there by him saying that he was a little pissed off about the apparently large advantage that Kelvin Gastelum's going to have in weight there, but who knows exactly what Tyron Woodley weighs coming into this fight here. Odds makers have Woodley as a slight favorite, but fans disagree and favor Gastelum to win this matchup. Gastelum is on a tear, and it looks like he didn't even try to make weight coming into this fight here, 9 pounds over, but he is weighing 180 coming into this from some of the numbers that I've seen out there. Both men are 5 feet 9 inches tall, but Woodley has a 2.5-inch reach advantage. Gastelum is 9 years younger, and that much of a difference in age typically favors the much younger fighter. I'm going to go against what the odd makers and industry insiders are thinking here, and I'm going to be picking Kelvin Gastelum to win by decision. All right, next up we have Joe Lauzon versus Iaquinta, the number 21 ranked lightweight fighter versus the number 22 ranked lightweight fighter. And Joe Lauzon is 24-9 coming into this one, and Iaquinta is 10 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. Without going a whole lot into this one here, it looks like odds makers slightly favor Iaquinta, but most fans and industry insiders are favoring Joe Lauzon to get the win. All 3 of Iaquinta's losses are by submission, and 18 of Lauzon's 24 wins are by submission, so I'm going to be picking Joe Lauzon to win by sub and 2. All right, next up here, Leites versus Tim Boetsch, the number 11 UFC ranked middleweight versus the number 13 UFC ranked middleweight. And in this one here, both odds makers and fans have Leites as a heavy favorite. Leites is 1 inch taller and has a 4-inch reach advantage. And Leites is also on a 5-fight win streak, whereas in contrast, Tim Boetsch only has 2 wins in his last 5 fights. All of the advantages in this matchup, in my opinion, go to Leites, and I'm going to be picking Leites to win by sub in 3. All right, then moving on to the next one here, Jordan Mian versus Thiago Alves, the number 13 UFC ranked welterweight versus the number 22 ranked welterweight. And coming into this one here, Jordan Mian is 29 wins and 9 losses, and Thiago Alves is 25 wins and 9 losses. For this one here, odds makers have Jordan Mian as a slight favorite, and most of the stats and advantages are in favor of Mian. But I'm going to go with the underdog in this fight here, and I'm picking Thiago Alves to win by decision. All right, and I always like to talk about the ladies here. I'm only going to do the main cards predictions here, and I do want to talk about the ladies as I usually do on the show here. Miesha Tate versus Sara Mcmann, the number 2 UFC ranked bantamweight versus the number 3 UFC ranked bantamweight in the women's division. And coming into this one here, Miesha Tate is 15 wins, 5 losses, and Sara Mcmann is 8 wins and 1 loss. I don't know, I'm kind of perplexed here at what everyone is thinking here. Odds makers, fans, and industry insiders all favor Mcmann to win this matchup, and I don't agree with that at all, based on the performances that we've seen from Mcmann in the UFC and the gritty toughness of Miesha Tate. I have to go against the grain again here, and I just don't see Mcmann getting the win over Tate. I'm just not really impressed with what I've seen from her in the UFC, and like I said, Miesha Tate is very tough. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be picking Miesha Tate by decision. I think she's just too tough, too gritty, and again, like I say, I'm not really impressed with what I've seen from Mcmann in the UFC. All right, that pretty much wraps up the show here. I was going to have some other people on today, but been having a difficult time trying to round everybody up here and get everybody synced up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. And I want to thank everybody for listening to the shows here. I'll be doing a post-event show tomorrow on Sunday after the event here. And I just want to say here again, thanks for listening. If you'd like to join us on the show and chat about some MMA, talk about some MMA news, give your fight predictions, or join us from some post-event discussion or on some of the other shows that we do, I'd love to have you join us. Just go over to the MMA chat forums where we plan the shows, create an account, and let us know that you'd like to join us on the show so we can give you access to the area of the site where we plan and coordinate the shows. And if you go to the site, you can't see that area. That is because that area is actually hidden from the public. All right, the links to the forums is in the description of the video below, and you can also find all of our other social networking links there as well. And I do want to thank you all again for listening to the shows that I do for the MMA Live Chat Show, the MMA Live Chat Hour, and the MMA Roundtable discussion shows. And I will see you all again next time. Enjoy the fight tonight, people, and we will probably do a post-event show tomorrow. Don't know if I'll be alone on that show by myself here, but I'll see if I can round a couple other people up to go ahead and discuss things. All righty. Take care, people. Have a good one. Enjoy the fights tonight, and goodbye.